Perfect. Perfect. Perfect.
So we're going to talk about the Elephant token. Um, in a nutshell, so we've done some experiments on or reruns of experiments on Binance Smart Chain so far, and I think in general, these first couple of months, everyone has benefited from taking either dividend capital, fresh capital, resources from Ethereum, Tron, and other places, mainly Ethereum and Tron for us DApp heads, and moved it to Binance Smart Chain to great effect. Many of us finally making that being right at the right place at the right time, and with the experience that we've had to change our lives and to level up. Um, and that's primarily been from all of our experiences and sort of not being novices in this space and being able to take everything we know to just simply move money around, whether it be just simply to be able to move money around, be able to interact with smart contracts directly, indirectly, be able to smell a scam. All of the skills that we've developed over the years has elevated this community, and many of us have been able to quit jobs, settle debts, and move forward to great effect. In terms of bankroll, we have a sustainable base of assets, with Elephant, using standard credits/stack contract. We've been able to establish footholds with Bitcoin and with WBNB. There's the primary two assets that, at least for me as a community leader, that I would like to see folks having a solid savings account in. Why is that? Is because nothing lasts forever, but BNB and BTC are going to be around. This is the bedrock of this industry, and you're not going to miss the macro bull run if you are in those assets. At the same time, we want to look at community opportunities, and in terms of what I wanted to do, I wanted, number one, for example, with Flow, before Flow came out, it really benefited the community when I slowed down, took a step back, and actually saw what was going on, and then made a move. And that's how we got Flow. We learned a lot from Flow. Overall, I think Flow is a great tool. I think the MLM aspects are somewhat negative. There's a reason why the MLM is not very popular in general in the business community. There are different ways to do network marketing, but multi-level marketing can lead to certain types of problems. And suffice to say, I have seen them. I don't like them, and also the broader crypto. We have to accept that the broader cryptocurrency community as well is not very fond of MLM. So these are just sort of basic realities that we have to face. I think if we look at certain competitors, like on the Tron space, like if you look at Eclipse City, they flat out gave up on the MLM model, and they're the ones that brought it like big time, right? And they simply said, this does not work, this is not healthy, we're going to quit. I have been very vocal about trying to steer the community in productive directions. Members of the community, whether it be 3D or Crypto Slow, Trevon, we've all been very vocal about where our attention is and what we're looking at and what we get into. And I think that has helped people to great effect. And, people have invested in other things and capitalize on that. And then they have the choice of whether to take their profits and put them into cake or put them into, but if you're going to put them into some in BTC or WBNB and just hold it, Elephant is there for you, and that's good. We're going to make some changes to those contracts. Obviously we patched the defect that we had in stack contract that's been there since, I guess, a long time. It just didn't cause that much of a problem. But in this very hyper competitive BSC space where there is money and competition, someone, they're looking to exploit everything that they could. And once we actually got that audit done for Elephant, for the stack contracts on Elephant, it sort of made public the contract itself, everything it did. And then people, decided to create chaos, even though no funds were lost. That's since been patched. What I want to talk about now is, what is the next step in terms of, a solution that's going to take advantage of the size and scale of this community. We have lots of long-term whales. People have been here, and minnows, whales. Our community is stratified, but we've always had contracts that benefit pretty much everyone, and we all can move together. I'm very excited about even though it's just a simple stack contract, I'm very excited about what those core WBNB and BTC contracts, even the BUSD contract, will do in the long term. But how do we spice things up and really put ourselves on the map? We have, we're a top 30 token on BSC with the current TVL that we have, which is in double-digit millions. With a token, an incentivized token, I believe that we can jump into easily the top 20, if not, probably the top 20, if not the top 10, depending on how things go. But at least the top 20. And as soon as we launch our community token, we can post that TVL immediately on DeFi Station and stuff like that, which will also add credibility and incentivize others to join and things like that. So there'll be visibility, even though before to get on CoinMarketCap or get on CoinGecko or anything like that, we can immediately, through the relationships that I've developed in just the short amount of time that we've been on BSC, we should be able to get our efforts listed fairly quickly. Okay, so now what is Elephant Token? Actually, before I get into that, before I get into Elephant Token, so I'll just say one more thing about Flow. So, for the reasons I've given about the sort of multi-level marketing and things like that, and what I've seen in terms of the division, which I just don't think it's scalable or healthy. That's why I did not build a Flow. That's why I didn't port Flow to BSC. I mean, obviously, I ported Stack to BSC, so there are obviously experiments that work and that help where the community can cooperate together and people can play their own game, and everything's just great. No complaints, no problems. Those are the types of contracts that scale. Those are the type of contracts that you can build festivals around, right? Everyone and this is a very turbulent market with a lot of stressors already coming from everywhere. And it's always bad when people lose money. So we can't have an environment where, depending on where the outcomes are determined by when you joined or how much you put in or whatever, people should be able, a bank works regardless of the size of the deposit. Okay. That's what bankroll is about. At the end of the day, a bank doesn't care about when you did your first deposit or how much you deposited. The core services are not time dependent. They're not market dependent. These contracts need to work the same way. So as long as everyone understands that, I think we're good. And also another thing that people have to fundamentally understand about the bankroll community, or about what this project is about versus a lot of other projects. A lot of projects have very, very concrete goals that are set in stone. And if they don't achieve those goals, they're a failure. So like if Chainlink can't decide not to be an Oracle company or an Oracle project overnight. If they do, they just fail, right? Bankroll is bigger than that. Bankroll is like any other financial services organization, this being a decentralized one, where our main goal is to make sure that our members are profitable, period. Whether it's our contracts, whether it's other people's contracts, doesn't matter the blockchain, doesn't matter the core asset. At least while I'm still here, the only thing that I'm doing is following the community. I follow the community. I started out in ETH. The community moved to Tron. I moved to Tron. The community moved to BSC. I moved to BSC. So I follow the community and I provide value. And then when I provide that value, it either works or it doesn't, but I'm going to build safe contracts. I know fundamentally how certain contracts can fleece you to keep it simple. And so, and I never try to build those things. I'll always try to neuter a contract so that it's safe. And in my humble opinion, or not so humble opinion, and fact-based, Flow is still one of the longest running yield farms in existence. It's been running flawlessly for 4 months. It still pays out. Yield is yield. You're supposed to sell yield. Yield has constant pressure pushing the price down. I am 100% sure that any Flow clones will succumb to the pressures of whales selling yield at some point, if not already. So it is what it is. But it is still paying out, and it's designed to pay out. There are members that are very, that have built great teams and stuff, and they're pushing all that. And I think that is great. But I don't want there to be this, there's no division though here. So there's for number one, we have tons of contracts servicing this community at this point, and Flow is a very successful one. It doesn't make this new kid on the block, so to speak, more important than the other contracts and the other programs and just the community effort in general that has been servicing us this whole way. And it is showing its weaknesses, which is why we're having these conversations, and which is why there's no Flow on BSC, right? So in general, the crypto community, so some promoters like to say that crypto is a solar sport. That is obviously not true. Bitcoin and other programs or fintech programs before it, none of these things work without community involvement and participation and resources. None of these things work. So you can promotion is just one aspect of contribution, but also being in the chats and contributing and helping answer questions and things like that, and just being positive in the community. All of these activities help. And also, contributing your crypto gains or your hard-earned money, your hard-earned fiat, all of these things matter. And there will be no value, and you can't attract value, if the community doesn't stand together. So I guess that's the other thing I'll say is that all of these things involve participation, but in general, you don't have people worrying about what's in your savings account, right? You don't have people worrying about when was the last time you withdrew or, rolled your savings account? Nobody should care. So we should have contracts, that kind of reflect that sort of basic fiduciary ethos as well, which is, people are entitled to their privacy to some extent. People are entitled to, no matter what they do, it should benefit the system, right? There's, and these contracts should be designed as store of value contracts. So it's perfectly fine for you to be earning divs, but if the only way that you can realize those divs is to cash them out, basically claiming, then there's a flaw in the design. And basically, if that act of claiming just causes a mad dash for people to claim, then there's a flaw in the design. One thing that you see with the RFI tokens, and this is going to segue directly into Elephant, is that when people leave, that creates very strong opportunities for the people who stay. And it's because, there's a fixed token supply. Just like with Bitcoin, people who sell Bitcoin, it creates opportunities for people who got in later. And we're seeing that in full effect now at a macro scale. And now we need to start to apply those principles. I mean, if you look at things like Hex and things like that, and some of the other staking contracts, T2X and clones, even Flow, these are inflationary setups. And they've proven to be able to hold up over time. Hex, hold up over time. But I think there's an opportunity in the inflationary space, and there's some deflationary space. And I think that this Elephant token is bringing some nuances that are going to help us sort of rise to the top. So let me take a break and take a look at the questions that people have posted, and then also I'll read the questions, and then after I answer those questions, people can also raise their hand, but maybe just typing the questions out here is maybe easier anyway. And I think that's the format we used last time I did an AMA of this sort on Discord. Let's see, questions. Is Elephant going to be able to be bought with BNB or WBNB? So I'll get into that. Is it possible to connect with Binance Chain or MetaMask wallet? Okay. What is the mechanics of liquidity drive? Good question. Will it be just like the usual liquidity pool where you add BNB and get the new token in exchange at the current price? The more BNB added, the higher the price. Question. I understand the way this model works extensively, but what will cause people to continuously buy after the initial liquidity deal? Wise, as a prime example, I understand the burden. Funds in and out, then everything is stagnant. So yeah, and AJ's question is a great question, and this is directly addressed in the code. So any quick ad hoc questions about Flow before I get started with Elephant? Because I'm going to go through just some things that will be published shortly, including I'm going to talk about the liquidity drive, especially. A lot of this conversation is going to focus on the liquidity drive, but I will give a brief heads up. I'm just going to read the preamble that's going to be on the contract, right, for the Elephant token. So you'll get a basic understanding of how it works. I'm just going to read it verbatim, and then we'll dive in. So I guess I'll get started then, and I'll just answer these questions. So let's start with, let me just switch to, okay. All right. So I'm going to read the preamble for Elephant token. So Elephant token is a RFI-like token. It, at its core, it's the same contract code as SafeMoon. So it's the same code that we've recently seen deployed for Hourglass. I'll speak on deployment for a quick second for the SafeMoon contract. How you deploy that contract determines your outcome. If you don't deploy that contract using a fair model for distributing whatever percentage tokens you want to have in the hands of the initial stakeholders, if that's not fair, then you're going to have a pretty steep uphill climb to kind of break out of certain price tiers. As you kind of approach 1 cent per million, you're gonna have difficulty getting into price tiers. I was excited about MRAP for a while. It sounds exciting. Ooh, divs. It's like it's SafeMoon with divs. Just to quickly speak on MRAP, I pulled most of my money out of MRAP. Those divs in MRAP are nothing more than a liquidity leak. That, like, I like to use that word a lot because it happens a lot. Developers, they think they're adding innovations. They play around with tokenomics. You have to be aware of what a liquidity leak is and how to avoid it. One of the other reasons why Flow is not on BSC as is because fundamentally in design, 1% yield a day, tokens minted out of anywhere, even if they're kind of recycled, like in project that will not be named, eventually you're going to have to mint tokens. And if you just do that for any extended period of time, guess what? That's a liquidity leak. So in general, inflationary tokens, surprise, surprise, have liquidity leaks. Doge has a 4% inflation rate, but here's the thing with Doge. It has a fixed, that 4% inflation rate is defined by 10,000 tokens, 10,000 coins per block. As the circulating supply of Doge increases, that dwarfs the 10% per block, right? And so effectively as T goes to infinity, the inflation of Doge goes to zero. So that's something that Elon Musk understands and the average layperson at home might not. And in the short term, actually, that's why something like Doge can go up in price and is going up in price when it actually has the right backing. So that's just one thing to think about. But that's 4% per year right now, and that's only going to go down. Things like Flow are 1% per day. So basically, any of these things that have, I think we're finally graduated out of that. Like, we care about APYs. We want to calculate APYs. We want to design systems where the APYs are high. But we have to understand that 1% a day is a gift, and it's something that should be, or 3% or 2% or whatever it is when something launches, is a gift, and that is going to decay. And then we're going to shift from high yield to high price appreciation as scarcity mechanisms come into play. And that's how things are supposed to work. And that's what you see with Bitcoin and, the things that are actually working, right? The fiat financial system is inflationary, and it has no bounds and it has no rules. The Federal Reserve can decide at any time to print as many tokens as they want. At least, something like Flow has rules. The Federal Reserve has none. So the U.S. federal government has none. And the same goes for every other country that prints fiat. The whole continent of Africa basically being saved by crypto right now. But that is every country is the same as well. Like, you know, South America, Africa, that's where you see currencies fail all the time, right? But the US dollar is failing before our eyes. Like I am really trying to buy, like right now, legit, I'm trying to buy a luxury car right now just because I don't want to see the price of that car next year. So, you know, I know what I paid for my first new car in the 90s, and now I'm seeing I can't escape a car being less than $40,000 for just a regular car. You know, it's which is insane. That's like a luxury car, like back in the day, back in like my recent, you know, time since I've been buying cars and stuff. So it's kind of crazy. But anyway, I'm gonna get back on track. Right. So that's why these RFI tokens, deflationary tokens, make sense. But they still have problems. Obviously, volume being one problem. If you're hyper successful, burn addresses taking all the profits, that's a problem. So I try to address those problems. But anyway, Elephant token features. You guys are hearing this for the first time. The contract code's been done for a while. I've been testing it. The core mechanisms for the token are 100% like SafeMoon. So a lot of what makes Elephant special are the contracts that interact with the token, mainly the burn address, and the contracts that help launch the token, mainly liquidity drive. So what does Elephant mean? Elephant is a 100% in a box platform. Like, so all the most important contracts that are required are the ones that collect the initial liquidity and the ones that manage the burn address. So we're going from a passive burn address that gets kind of out of hand once you start crossing that 50% point and beyond. And we're addressing the, you know, making the system as fair as possible and establishing a floor. Now, one thing you can't deny is if you have a platform like Hex, or if you have a platform like Wise, liquidity is king. Realize that the way, especially because this community is educated, the goal is to have passive income. The goal still is to have passive income, and that passive income will be generated through volatility. And you have to realize that if you participate in this liquidity drive event, you're going to have the best single price and be establishing the floor, but you'll have the best price, right? So let me explain or just read what Elephant is, and then maybe we'll take a break and do some questions, and I'll answer. Hopefully, I'll answer some of the questions that were posted in the chat. So, Elephant features: 1 quadrillion supply. That's 1 million billions. 10 trillion is equal to 1% of the supply. Okay, so in terms of fees, 5% to holders and 5% to liquidity on every transaction. This system is 100% automated and has a deployer and liquidity fundraiser. 49% of the tokens are sent to an Elephant graveyard. So that's 490 trillion tokens to a burn address. And when that 10% of fees is distributed, that address is a holder and will automatically burn what it receives. 1% will go for development. 25% will be owned by the contract, by the token contract itself, and put into locked liquidity. 25% will go to the community via liquidity drive. So that's basically, that adds up to 100%. So again, 49% to the burn address, 1% for development, 25% for locked liquidity, and 25% to all participants in the liquidity drive. The participants in the liquidity drive will be getting the lowest price. 100% of new liquidity. So as the token is in operation, 100% of the new liquidity is automatically locked and owned by the contract. One of the things, there was a pause in deploying this, and that was because I wanted Pancake to sort out their stuff. So we'll be, all of our liquidity will be on V2 and owned by a token contract. So similar to Vault, all of Vault's liquidity is owned by the V2 contract on Uniswap, and that's perfectly fine. We have tools like we have exchanges like 1inch, which can handle wherever the liquidity lives, right? And I suspect, reading Pancake's roadmap, that this V2 liquidity will last a very long time and be well supported into the future. We have, for better or for worse, we have many contracts or many programs, for example, that have liquidity locked on Unicrypt that's locked for 25 years, 6 years, whatever. So these exchanges obviously have to support their multiple versions of their protocol, and I think they have a good understanding that they are supporting immutable contracts on the blockchain, and that it may be the case that liquidity for fiduciary and security reasons is locked for timeframes that don't necessarily coincide with their dynamic roadmaps. So let's get back to, let's finish the preamble. Did I finish that? Okay. So here's a sort of innovation. So the tokens in the graveyard, which is the burn address, that token count is pegged at 50%. So instead of the burn address being just a passive address like the 0 address or the 0 append 1 at the end address, or 000, blah blah blah, dead at the end of the address, instead of it being any of those, like sort of like, you're not going to be able to generate a private key for those addresses, right? Sort of the probability of that happening is like 2 atoms at different sizes of the universe smashing together. That's the probability of you generating those addresses. Instead of having that, I actually have a known address, or it's a private key, but it's a private key that's baked into the blockchain itself via a child contract that's generated during the creation of the token. So this token creates a liquidity drive. It creates basically a funding mechanism for itself. It creates a burn address for itself, and then its burn address is smart enough to know that, hey, if I have over 50% of the tokens, or actually over 51% of the tokens, I'm going to send the difference back to the token contract. And when I send those tokens back to itself, there's a mechanism already in place for how the reflect system works in general. That's going to take that surplus from the burn address and redistribute it out to everyone, including the burn address. So now you have this like consistent daily volume that's always happening. Okay. Yeah. So that's that. Let's talk about let's take a pause. I'll answer some quick questions. Well, actually, let me just get into the liquidity drive real quick, and then we'll take questions, because let's just talk about the liquidity drive. And just for notes, I'm just going to bring up for my own, just to make this easier for myself. I'm just going to bring up the contract in front of my face to make sure I cover all the points. So that elephant graveyard will rebalance once per day, every 24 hours, I should say, since it last did it. So the liquidity drive. Okay. There's actually one little feature that I'm gonna ask for your input on this. There's only one little feature that I want to potentially put into the liquidity drive, and that is maybe after day 0, you pay a small tax, adding up to like 10% tax. Like at the last day of the liquidity drive, the 7th day of liquidity drive, you pay 10% tax, and then maybe like day 0, you pay 0%. The next day, you pay 1.66%. Then 4 point what 2 something percent or whatever, I don't know. 3, I think, no, 3.22 or 3.2%. But basically add 1.66% each day, adding up to, except for the first day, adding up to 10%. Why is that? Because we want to incentivize, like, say, we want to incentivize participants to get their funds in earlier rather than later. And at the same time, I didn't want to have like tiers or any changes of price per se. Everyone's going to pay the same price, but your funds are going to get taxed if you take forever to get them in. And we've been saying, get your BNB ready for a while. Okay, so liquidity drive is going to take BNB, not WBNB. It's going to take plain BNB. You have a donate function. While the contract's not launched, you'll be able to contribute. You have to contribute at least 0.1 BNB, and you can call that function over and over again to add money for as long as you want. But like I just said, there might potentially be a tax, so you want to get your funds in early. What other features of the liquidity drive have? It will tell you how much funds in total have been raised. It will tell you what percentage of the collected pool is yours. So you'll have an idea in real time of where you stand in this whole process and how many tokens, what percentage of the tokens you're actually going to own. Basically, what you need to remember is that there's 50% of the tokens are going to be owned by the burn address. 50% of the tokens, 50% of tokens are going to be owned by the burn address, which is going to protect price and liquidity. 50% of the tokens are going to be owned by the community, and 25% of those people, you have to decide which person you're going to be. Are you going to be the 25% that got the absolute best price in the price floor, or are you going to be everybody else who's pretty much guaranteed going to pay more for less tokens over time? So that's, so some, one of our favorite sort of marketers in the space, Stunner Breezy, as he says, you want to make your first shot your best shot. In this case, the platform is literally helping you make your first shot your absolute best possible shot you could take by, you're not paying any tax, you're not paying any slippage. Your Ethereum is buying the maximum possible amount of token, or your amount of BNB is buying the maximum amount of tokens that it could, right? And if you delay by a day, whenever this gets launched, that day it gets launched, that's the golden 24 hours where you're paying 0 fee, 0 nothing. Day 2, 1.66% tax on your BNB you put in. The next day, 3.2. Next day after that, 4.8, whatever. So you see how it goes. So you don't want to dawdle. And that also protects, and what does that really do? I think I need to put that in because you are making commitments and you are shuffling funds, and you're saying, this could be this drive is going to be life-changing. I'm telling you guys now, I have at least 100 BNB that I will personally put in myself. Guaranteed. So, and there are others that will do the same and are planning to do the same. So, but you're still going to get the best price and the same price as the whales, as everybody else. So no one's going to dump on you. No one in this community who participates in this event is going to be dumping on you. And no one who gets in after this event can dump on you. So this is a fair launch. You'll be able to see your percentage of ownership in real time over the course of the 7 days. And at the end of those days, you'll be able to claim. The other benefit after that is that, of course, there'll be a UI for this. So on Elephant, there'll be a UI where you can actually just participate in the event. And there's a donate box. You put your amount of BNB in, you hit go, and it looks very similar to everything you're familiar with in Bankroll, right? And including the global stats at the bottom. So that's the Liquidity Drive event, and that's pretty much everything with this Elephant token. And can anyone copy this? Sure, but we're Bankroll and we're top 30 right now, and we have followers and stuff like that, and that's only growing. So I think we're going to be fine. So let me. Hopefully, I've answered most of these questions. All right, so we support MetaMask. MetaMask, both mobile. I think the mobile one, I found that the MetaMask mobile, I haven't updated my MetaMask mobile in a while, but where it reads the gas estimates from all these side chains, I think that functionality needs to be fixed. And so you always have to adjust your gas on every transaction. And there's not a good way to save it, or at least I haven't figured it out. But if you use MetaMask on desktop or mobile, you'll be fine. I just explained Liquidity Drive. So no, it doesn't work quite like Tony described, but it's basically you're putting, everyone's contributing all of their BNB, and once the drive is closed, the token contract sends 25% of the tokens to the Liquidity Drive, or when the token is actually launched, the Liquidity Drive, the first thing that's done is the Liquidity Drive is ended, the contract. Sorry, the token contract sends 25% of the token supply to the Liquidity Drive. If that condition is met, Liquidity Drive then sends the BNB to the token, and then the 25% that's left over is sent as liquidity with the paired BNB that's raised, and that's sent to PancakeSwap. Let's see. Let me see. So I answered AJ's question, and basically the elephant graveyard is what sort of guarantees constant incentive for the people who hold on to their tokens. So people who actually hold on to their tokens. So the issue with these reflect tokens is the way you win is just hold on to your tokens. But then if everyone just hold on to their tokens, then that just increases the price, and then you hit stagnation. With the way the graveyard works is it's constantly, taking 1%, 10 trillion tokens, up to 10 trillion tokens, and process that on a daily basis, and injecting that into the community, into holders and stuff. So it doesn't take a lot of entropy or energy to cause chain reactions in the system. There's always the system's always moving, and it's always incentivizing the community. And a lot of these traditional reflect tokens, the burn address always becomes the culprit, because after a while, people's divs just keep going down, 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 down. In this system, your divs stay great all the time. Yeah, so the liquidity drive is going to run for 7 days. What makes the price of this go up so we can all get rich? Okay, so the number one thing you have to realize is that, and I think it's pretty obvious by TVL and by transactions and all that stuff, but we're now on BSC, baby. So on Tron, whether Justin Sun liked it or not, we are the largest community project on Tron. Practically, the Eclipse City stuff scam, but did they last? Are they still around? No. I mean, not really. Tron is basically the Justin Sun show, just running his projects. It's very boring. Nobody's interested in that. And it doesn't make people money. So basically these hedge funds, they have horses these hedge funds and VCs have horses in the race. They have teams that are making products that for the way that they want to make money and the way that they see the financial, they know a ton of things and have access to both sides, all sides of the financial markets. And they know what they'd like to see decentralized. But see, you can't have those conversations with Justin, because you can't have those types of centralized conversations. You have to have project teams, a diverse set of project teams, and be able to apply your capital and get those things funded and get those things built. Those things have to actually come to market. And when they do come to market, they can't have the owner of the blockchain fighting them. Right? So it's just ridiculous. So Tron was very good to us in the bear market. There's a lot of we love Tron, and I mean even when I do a transaction on Tron now, I mean it's expensive, but it's still fast. We love Tron, but this should not have gotten more expensive. This should not have squeezed out smaller players. If anything, Justin should have been fighting tooth and nail to hold on to being the low fee champ, and people can't put their funds, say, oh, well, you can stake for energy. People are trying to change their lives, so they can't take, single digit returns, with all their money just to operate, just as gas to drive whatever smart contracts are going to drive. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it can work. Anyway, trust files. Look, as far as the UI goes, MetaMask, one thing I've been doing and putting off is here's one thing you have to understand. And I was explaining this to a community leader earlier today, for one of the flow teams, is that these are still experiments. I come from Fidelity. I come from that pedigree. We have tons of experiments. We have tons of programs that are even running commercially with zero advertising, and we're just collecting data. Sometimes we're collecting data for years to figure out, is this thing worth promoting? Is this something? Is this worth? Can we die on this sword if things don't go right? The Bankroll brand, I mean, it's one of the oldest brands in crypto right now, and it will always be. So we have to make sure that we're building the right things. And when things aren't working, and if things have liquidity leaks, I don't care how much you like flow, it doesn't fucking work. And because it has liquidity leaks, and it is what it is. So we keep moving on. So Let's see. So basically, price of the tokens will be equal for everyone participating in the drive and will be known after the drive is over. Correct. So we will not know the price of the token. We know that 25%, so 250 trillion tokens will be distributed to the participants equitably based on how much BNB they contributed. But we do not know what the price will be until or do we? So that's actually a feature. So it's good you asked that question, Tony, because that actually is a feature. Well, what we can do is we can show what that price is in real time, can't we? So we know how much we've raised at a certain point in time. So we can say this is the current price of the token. And that current price of the token is only going to go up. But guess what? That current price of the token that's only going up is the best price that you could ever get. And the only way you can do that is if you participate in the drive. So that's going to be great marketing. And I'm going to add that feature. Thank you. In the UI. What happens after the token launch? Will the token have a specific use case? The specific use case is massive gains if you've seen Safe Moon and things like that. But one thing you will see is not so much on the token itself, but on the backside of it, there will be future farms. There will be future single asset contracts on Elephant, and all of those things will be paying dues to Elephant token holders. And so, and the distribution mechanism for that is very beautiful. To distribute airdrops and rewards from other parts of the platform to Elephant token holders is very simple. All you have to do is just send Elephant tokens to the burn address, right? If you send Elephant tokens to the burn address, once that pushes it over any daily volume and additional rewards that are sent to the burn address get sent right back to the token address for distribution automatically. Okay, so I love your BSC and TRX projects, but after Elephant.Money hype train and new projects are established in long term, are there any sneak peeks into future bankroll flow plans for advertising, 1.3 price inflation fixes, etc.? As stated before, okay, so cash. Well, let me open up the lines. I'm sick of hearing myself talk. One second. Anyone want to raise their hand, ask a question, or maybe I can just unmute? Is there an easy way for me to unmute everyone? Let me see. I'm gonna put new participants can speak. All right, so this is going for an hour. I'm gonna post. This is gonna be my podcast. Thank you. So now I know that it's at the hour mark where I need to clip this thing. That's good too. So yeah, if people basically, if you leave the voice chat and come back, you should be able to speak if you want to, and you can just unmute your own mic. Oh, let's see, can I? Yeah, I'm not going to go down and unmute everybody. So if you want to speak, you can just leave and come back. So the floor is open. Now it's just a party. I have to implement that. I have to implement that tax feature. Maybe maybe I could get some feedback on that tax question that tax feature that we just talked about. Basically, every day there's a 1.6% tax on your deposit. So worst case, you're going to basically get the worst case. You're going to get if you buy on the last day, you're going to get the absolute best price. Not accounting for slippage, but you're going to get the same exact price as the first couple of buyers on Pancake Swap, right? Because they're going to be paying 10% tax in the system because they're moving those tokens. Because Pancake and those participants, neither one of them are on the exclusion list, so so that's going to be a taxable transfer. So those people are going to be paying 10%. If you buy on the last day of the drive, you're going to be paying 10%. So let's say you don't have all the money you need right now. You still want to get your funds together and get them in, as soon as we launch. So I'm not sure. I probably don't. I want to do one more day of testing, and every day that I add new features, I'm going to push out development. I'm not adding more features to the token itself, but for every day I add new features to the drive itself. Let's just expect like a Friday launch. And I'm not going to say what time Friday, but the drive will launch Friday. Pretty much guarantee that. And so Friday. So whenever it launch, I will announce when on Friday tomorrow, just because I don't want people in certain regions to be disadvantaged, to not have the full 24 hours to participate at that best price. So let's see any feedback on that. I lost money on Moonrat. This is different, right? Yeah, this is different. Moonrat, basically, the developers of Moonrat, they thought that they were innovating by creating a BNB faucet with Safe Moon features. No, all that was doing was actually, there's an easy way to think about it. For a majority of the Moonrat project, whenever you looked at the BNB pool when it was healthy, it was like a very similar size or a significant fraction of the liquidity pool. Guess what? That BNB was coming from liquidity. Like literally in the code, they're selling tokens to produce the funds to go into that BNB pool. All they're doing is moving liquidity around. And what actually happened is that's the worst thing you can do. And also in what happened was in the parabolic phase, everything's moving up. But actually, people who were aware of the exploit that they had were basically siphoning liquidity from the system. So the reason I was so excited about Moonrat was because of the marketing effort they had done, or whatever marketing team they had, or whatever. So that's another thing. There will be marketing for Elephant. 100%. Pretty much on everything we've ever done on Tron, we always done that within the context that the rest of the industry thought that Tron was dog shit. So, and once through my own personal actions and through the actions of the community, once it became very clear after contract number 1, contract number 2, contract number 3, contract number 4, dozens of contracts, dozens of deployments, dozens of successful launches, that bankroll's not going anywhere. Elon, there's no commercials for Teslas. Teslas don't even look that good. Design-wise, they don't look good at all. Interior or exterior. It's what they do. Right? What they do is they help contribute to let's not burn down the whole fucking planet. That's what the technology that puts Teslas on the road is the same. You can think it is just like the space initiative. We have so many things to be thankful for because of space initiative, but we have so many things to be thankful for just because of initiatives just to build the Tesla. And those things are coming to fruition. Those things are becoming a reality. Whole cities, can now store solar energy, store renewable energy in battery technology developed by Tesla. So, so similarly, with our contracts, these contracts are still servicing us. These simple building blocks are servicing us. And, when all these farms and things like that come and go, guess what? If you had just held BNB, if you just got BNB when I said get BNB on Patreon in a free post, around $50, that's all you had to do. Yeah, all I had to do was hold cake. I could have been way ahead of where I am now. But anyway, let's see. I'm going to read some of this feedback. And remember, you can jump in or tell me if you can't jump in for some reason and you're trying to speak. Let's see. Is there going to be a BNB drip similar to Moonrat? I think I just explained that. The drip is you're getting tokens real time in your wallet. Just sell them as needed. And if you don't need it, don't sell it and let it hyper compound. So what I'm excited about is that this elephant token, yay, bye-bye roll button. Don't need you anymore. Thank you. Thank you. We have a vault right here. It works. Thank you very much. No roll button. So one of the things that I'll be doing is, I'll be looking at vault contracts, as I think about like what single asset contracts or you can also think of liquidity pool tokens as a single asset, and what kind of vaults or things can be created around single assets, and how can things in Elephant operate without a roll button and auto compound. Those are the things I'll be looking at next.
ABC.
Yep.
Hey, so question. Have you thought about, and maybe probably the timing wouldn't be good for the liquidity drive, but maybe other bankroll contracts where someone may want to, move their divs instead of just cashing them out, but maybe move those into this new contract.
Move their divs.
Or essentially just basically migrate, or instead of collecting divs, they can collect the new elephant token instead.
You can always just buy the elephant token. So everyone should have their favorite pathway to get money from ETH, Tron to BSC, vice versa, KuCoin, bridges, all that stuff. That's like your daily hygiene type of stuff, and you just bring that over. You just bring that over and buy that token. But I think the liquidity drive, like right now, you want to be ready for this day zero for the liquidity drive, which probably will be Friday or Saturday. And that's going to be the absolute best price, but you can also DCA in, obviously. Yeah. So let's see. Okay. So let's do like let's do a quick tally of what's here, what's running, what's not. So Vault, hey, Vault enabled this right here. We got 32 people on the call. This thing will be saved. I'll probably one easy thing I can do, I think, is I can actually upload the audio file to Patreon. And obviously, as I said before, all Patreon posts going forward are public. So if you're still paying your Patreon membership, I probably should create a free. I think I will create a free tier as well, really quickly, community tier. Because I still want to have members, for the thing, and I want that membership to grow. It's a nice social signal. But if you choose to pick a paid plan, it's a tip. It's just a tip to me, a thank you to me. Obviously I don't need the money, but I do appreciate the tip. Money's money. Would be interesting to see Elephant bridges, perhaps via token, etc. Yeah, I mean, let the big boys do all that stuff. Duplication of effort. You have to respect the game. You have to. What I mean by that is you have to respect the software development process, and you have to kind of stay in your lane. If you haven't noticed, I'm doing that. So, basically, there are infrastructure providers. There are teams that do that, right? And there are teams that focus on all aspects of this ecosystem, right? And but Bankroll, our mission is really simple. We just want to do store of value type contracts, and we want to generate yield. We've been creating yield before. We were generating yield before we knew what yield was, before we had a name. Obviously, many of us have known what yield is, but we didn't know that's what we were really doing. We had things like cash flow for all, like that. We were producing favorable APYs before we had the bright idea that, hey, finally, maybe we should put APYs. Maybe we should figure out what our APY actually is. Oh shit, our API is is one of the best in the industry. Oh shit, how long have we underappreciated that? How long have we underappreciated the strength of our own goddamn community? These are the things, it's just entropy. It's just motion. If money is moving, it creates yield. We're no different than a community bank. We're no different than, as long as there's activity and as long as there's a growing membership and as long as there's a growing base of dues that are paid and we're doing this on a per transaction basis, that is all that is required. Per block basis, per transaction basis, time basis, that's all that's required. So here's a question. So first or last day of drive will be the best time to buy a big cart. No. The first day is the best day to participate in a drive. The first day, there's zero tax. After the first day, there's 1.6% tax, then 3.2% tax, then 4.8% tax, etc., up to 10%. So the last day of the drive is still the best day before it goes to pancake swap. Because on pancake swap, you'll have slippage. On pancake swap, there'll be other buyers that will drive the price up away from the best price. So we're going to have this hard floor. And that's going to be contributed to by who? Whoever didn't participate, whoever wants to double down more, and the rest of the entire BSC community. So what that means is if you're not in this chat, so for example, if you're not in this chat right now, you're at a disadvantage. Now, if you're not following Bankroll Patreon or Bankroll tweets, you're at a disadvantage. So next 48 hours, pretty much everyone who's not in Bankroll is at a disadvantage. After we launch, if you don't pay attention to DeFi Station and what's gaining in value on DeFi Station, you're at a disadvantage.
Hey, BT, sorry to disturb. Thank you for answering the question. So if I got it correctly, when the liquidity drive sale starts, we are going to buy via the UI, and then on the official launch day after the liquidity drive event, it's going to be on PancakeSwap. Is that correct?
After 7 days, it'll be on PancakeSwap. Yep.
Okay, so the initial drive works via the UI.
Right. Yes. Or you can interact directly with the contract, but and the contract address will be posted. But yeah, you just participate in the drive, and you can participate as many times as you want.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Total token supply is 1 quadrillion. And that's effective circulating supply is half that.